thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I know you're still eating, but I'm sitting here with Pat, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we just ate. So first of all, I want to thank the whole Martin's Barbecue team for hosting us here today. This is just such a beautiful setting. Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming.
It's hard to believe it's been, I think, 3 months since our launch event at Lewis Barbecue. And so since that launch event, Charleston's menu has visited 14 restaurants in North Charleston, West Ashley, downtown Charleston, Daniel Island, Johns Island, and James Island. And I know if you live in Mount Pleasant, we still have to get over to you, and also Goose Creek and Monk's Corner are on my list this month. But for those who aren't familiar, Charleston's Menu is a weekly newsletter. It's run by the Post and Courier, and it's written by me each week. And my goal with the newsletter is to uncover some of the hidden gem restaurants and undercover places that you might not know are under your nose in our area. And part of your subscription to Charleston's Menu is a passport that you will get every quarter. And our first passport was a barbecue passport. So in that passport, there were 8 barbecue restaurants in the Charleston area chosen by me, and you were able to get your passport stamped at each one. And of course, Martin's Barbecue was one of them, and thank you for participating.
Thanks for having us on that list, man.
Yeah, of course. And so food exploration is really what Charleston's Menu is all about. And so the passport, the idea behind that is you get to read something written by me, but you also get to go out and actually go eat and go experience these places. And that's why seeing that and reading messages from people, a couple over here who has their entire passport filled out and has notes in it with receipts, that's just so special to me. And to kind of culminate it in this event is really great. And so Pat and I, so Pat just recently debuted his first cookbook called Life of Fire, and there's 65 recipes in there. Could you tell us a little bit more about your cookbook?
Yeah, it's actually, most cookbooks are written in recipe form, obviously, and then I took the path of a procedure form. So a standard book is 120 recipes or 150 recipes or whatever. Mine was smaller because I go deep into the procedure of pit barbecue, really. There's no smokers in the book. There's no beef in the book. It is centered around my style, how I learned to cook barbecue, which was whole hog barbecue in West Tennessee, which is a little bit of the bastard child in the sense that even national media still is now just trying to, not trying, but just starting to learn about it. It's about 100 miles before you get to Memphis, in between Nashville and Memphis, and there are about 5 or 6 counties there that traditionally cooked whole hog. It is a little different in the Carolinas, which I don't know if we can get into that later. But the book is just pit barbecue. There's open pit barbecue, which is what we were going to do for y'all tonight, but the winds were so bad we had to move it over the smoker. But we were going to cook these chickens just over the pit. And then spit barbecue, and then in the whole thing with me doing a smokehouse, which I do at my house, which is all country hams. And the book follows the life of fire. Really, it should have been called Life of Coals, but that wasn't as sexy a title, so Clarkson Potter wanted it to be Life of Fire. But in the last chapter is desserts, and I kind of bow out and exit stage left, and my mom comes in, and it's really a book within the book. My mom pretty much handles the desserts there because she could do them a lot better than me. So that was it.
Yeah, and when we talked about the book right before it came out, and you talked about how building that fire maybe isn't as difficult as people might think. It is more approachable.
Yeah, I think just the size of it and scale of, if we're talking about cooking a whole hog, is intimidating to people, and it is hard, but it's easy at the same time. It's like, I used an analogy a little while ago about skiing. Like, I can tell you how to ski in one page. You've got to go try to ski a couple hundred times before you get really, before you get off the green slopes. Cooking barbecue on a pit, especially the bigger the primal or animal you're cooking, the more nuanced and harder it can be. Just because there's 24 hours of mistakes that can happen instead of 4 to 6. But yeah, it's not. I definitely would hope that most people will at least try to do it, or if you're too smart to do it, you've got a friend dumb enough to try to do it, and y'all can go over their house and let them get worn out and tired over it. But it is fun.
Yeah. And you mentioned kind of some of the differences between Tennessee, what you grew up with, and the barbecue that's native to South Carolina and the Low Country. What are some of those things that people can pick out whenever they go to restaurants?
Well, I was born in Memphis, so Memphis barbecue is in my bones. I didn't find West Tennessee whole hog till I went to college, and it's Sam Jones and I like to laugh. It's different roads getting to the same house. West Tennessee style barbecue, we cook a larger hog. In the Carolinas, they're going to cook a hog that's in North and South Carolina. Cook a hog around 140 to 150 pounds. We're going to cook what we call sausage hogs, and those are about 190 to 200 pounds. And they called them sausage hogs because they were always put up for sausage, hams, and bellies for the winter. We pull, especially up in North Carolina, they chop. We both use a vinegar-based sauce, but ours is a sweet vinegar-based sauce, not a black pepper vinegar-based sauce. Both of us always serve slaw on the sandwich, which is, as we all know, the way God meant for us. Pulled pork sandwich needs to be served. And we use hickory wood because that's what predominantly grows where we are. Oak is used here. Hickory wood gets a bad reputation because most of us that have had it and not had it and had it when it was green, some of us in here have all burped that up. Sorry to be disgusting, but that's that hickory that gives it a bad name. When you let hickory sit and season for 3 to 6 months, it takes on almost a fruit wood quality, especially on the nose. It's very soft. It's an incredible wood to cook barbecue with, but you do have to age it. So that's really about it. We cook for 24 hours instead of 15 to 18 just because of the size, and we cook at a lot lower temperature. We cook at once we flip it, we're at 190 to 200. So that's it.
And Pat has your original restaurant is in just outside of Nashville, correct? And then you have 6 in Tennessee and
6
one
in Nashville.
6 in Nashville.
Around Nashville.
And then 1 in Kentucky, 1 in Atlanta.
Yeah,
right?
I got some friends. One's in Louisville. One's obviously here. John and Brenda Hare, close friends of mine. I've been friends for 12 or 13 years now. And 1 in Birmingham.
And what made Charleston in South Carolina a place that you thought this type of barbecue and your type of food would really resonate with people?
The Hares. You can't. There are many brands as you grow, especially if you're going to have in barbecue. If you're going to have 1 or 2 spots, that's one thing. Once you grow past that, there are brands that franchise, but I don't believe that you can, frankly, be proud of what you're doing if you're franchise barbecue. So in order to grow like we do, it's all based on partnerships. And so John lived here, and that was really the driving force of where I go. It's not, it wasn't, oh my gosh, I've got a carpet bag Charleston, because we get that enough in Nashville. It really truly was about the partnership and knowing that I don't have to, frankly, worry about John and Brenda, Chase and Hannah, Matt. They're all. I don't get up in the middle of the night worrying about whether they're going to try to do things the right way or not. The food is paramount. It's everything. And we're not perfect. Nobody is. But, we don't have a freezer or microwave in any restaurant that I have, and make everything from scratch. We try our hardest to do the best we can every day.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you're here on a Monday and in peak tourist season in May really speaks a lot. So thank you again for being here.
Well, thank you for having me very much.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what we just ate. So why don't you take us through kind of how you prepared that chicken, and we can go from there.
Well, like I said, we were going to do open pit chicken, and we had 20-mile-an-hour gusts coming through a while ago, and we didn't want to burn the restaurant down.
Yeah, even took our sign down out there.
Yeah. So we called an audible and put them on the smoker. Pit cooked chicken or pit cooked barbecue is really the oldest form of barbecue there is. That goes back to wherever you want to point on the globe. Indigenous peoples were cooking over some sort of framed sticks or something with over a bed of coals. And I don't think open pit barbecue gets talked about enough in our culture here, because no, we didn't invent barbecue as Americans, but we are the ones who smashed the flag into the dirt and said we're gonna own it. So I wanted to touch on that. So I wanted y'all to have that tonight. It is with our Alabama white sauce that we serve here at the restaurant. But pit cook barbecue is a little trickier than cooking in a closed environment, because you got to deal with wind and gusts and all that. But man, it's really good, and it's a crispier flavor profile on the back. You can see Chase is over here trying to crisp these chickens up after we got them out of the smoker, to give you that same feel, that same texture when they would come off an open pit. The charred corn, cream corn, was when I went through the first chapter, when I really started grilling 25, 30 years ago, everything that on our table at home was fried. Fried okra, fried squash, fried, name it. So I started grilling and trying to char things, and that was what landed in that book, and that's why you had that tonight. It's got a little bit of jalapeno in there just to add some nuance to it, a little bit of a spice. The Hoe Cakes are classic to Middle Tennessee. Hoe Cakes were everywhere. Sharecroppers took them in the field. Really, they were hot water cakes, because they had a little water, they had some cornmeal, and they literally could cook it in a little fire at lunch on the back of a hoe. A little bitty, like almost the size of a tea cake. Ours are bigger. They look like a pancake. We only use white corn. They're obviously, as you know, not sweet. All cornbread should be savory. Corn cakes should be sweet, and they do that up north. But so a hoe cake is, Nashville really brings almost nothing to the geography of barbecue, except that they always had barbecue. But right before I opened, my first and only employee at the time, Bo Collier, said, you can't, it was like a week before I opened. He was like, you can't have a barbecue restaurant in Nashville and not have hoe cakes. So it's the same batter and the same mix we use to cook them in an iron skillet. We just put them on a flat top, and I now actually prefer them. So what else do we have?
Cabbage.
Oh, then the charred cabbage, which is it's maybe my favorite vegetable that we do char. Such a simple thing. It's amazing. Just a little salt and black pepper will do with quartered or cabbage that's cut into eighths. Yeah. So.
And I'd imagine the cream corn was a lot different than a lot of people had. We kind of talked about the natural creaminess that you get from the corn. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you made that one and how you use that natural creaminess? Well,
it's the starch in the corn, corn milk as we'd call it. And, once that's come off the cob and it's sat, that's going to leach out. It was important to me to always try to incorporate something from fire. Not just for this book. This is what we cook, when we're at home with my wife Martha or whatever in the summertime, especially when roast nares come out in June. So it really aggravated my mom when we were shooting the pictures for the book, because she thought the charred pieces made the cream corn not look pretty. But she's over it now, and it's my oldest son is a cream corn fanatic, and he prefers it, so. I guess I won.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, Pat, for joining us. I'm sure we have a couple questions out there, maybe not. But does anyone have any questions? I'll kind of run out and grab them from you if you do. Is the corn in the recipe book?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'll sign your copy if you'll buy one. I got kids to feed.
Where can people get the book?
Right inside, right in there.
Right inside. What else do you do to
It is. I'm not a big marinating guy. When you get into primals and stuff, you're not really marinating anyway. There's I know a lot of people like to marinate ribs. I can tell you right now, it's pretty tough to beat good old salt 24 hours in advance, sitting on a rack in a fridge, and that's about as best a tenderizer as you're going to get. So I don't try to recreate the wheel. When we all eat barbecue, that texture on your mouth. Is, yes, you're getting fat in there, okay, but really it's the collagen that you're really trying to put your finger on that you like so much. When It's muscle fibers. And when those muscle fibers get to a certain point for a certain period of time, they break down and turn gelatinous. And so the older the hog and or the more the hog worked and walked around and did stuff, the more muscle fiber it's in there. So obviously the more muscle fiber means the more collagen. If we do our job and cook it well, you're going to have that real sticky, silky feel in your palate, So in the book, I've got in an open pit, I've got a 30, 40 pound pig, and you can get that from especially the shoulders and the back, the blade and the neck. Once you get in the hams, you start getting where you need to chop it, because hams, we always drag the hams at the restaurant or any barbecue joint drags. We call it dragging the hams because those hams are the biggest and the densest, but they also have the least amount besides the loin of collagen. And so we always want to get those right. They're the ones that are the trickiest, that can kind of make or break a hog, really. So the shoulders and the bellies usually are done, and you're just waiting to get those hams done. It's really, truly not one is right over the other. It's just stylistic. Because we pull, it's expected that we pull in Tennessee. We can't mince it all together. I mean, you're going to have a real tough time going outside of Nashville, especially going towards Memphis, and finding chopped barbecue, chopped pulled pork. And people in West Tennessee were very specific about what they wanted on their sandwich. I mean, like extremely specific. They would come in and they want lean meat. That means they're getting it from the hog or the loin. Or that people would ask for fatty meat with extra fat. And literally we would it'd clump a piece of fat on top of some belly meat, which is just a lot of freaking fat. But as time has gone on and some of that older generation has passed away, they're not as specific, and that's sad to me stylistically. West Tennessee barbecue, there's only 3 of us left doing it. My hope, all of our hope, mine, Daryl Ramey, Zach Parker, is that more people come back to doing it. There's a lot of people still cooking pit barbecue, but they're now gone to shoulders because, ironically, shoulders are cheaper than hogs. But stylistically, it's because we pull it.
Do you ever do any competitions, like Barbecue Fest?
I am not a big competition barbecue guy. I have done more fests than I care to mention. And I enjoy them. I pick and choose now what I do because I'm old. But they are a lot of fun. It's a good spot for us in our barbecue world. It's a pretty close, small world, really. And that's really where we usually cross paths together and spend time together. I have never gotten into the Kansas City Barbecue Society thing. I think it's ironic. Most KCBS folks who cook will tell you that they don't eat what they serve because it's become so sweet. They call it candy barbecue now. And I think that competition barbecue has been one of the best things that happened to barbecue, and I wouldn't say one of the worst at the same time, but something that's negative, and that is that it and food television was the vehicle that took barbecue outside of the South. 20 years ago, you weren't finding people in the Pacific Northwest or New England really cooking barbecue the way we know it here, and now it's everywhere. It truly is our food as Americans, I believe. So it needs to be credited with that, but at the same time, it also is a vehicle to tell everybody that you need super, super sweet ribs and super, super thick ketchup-based, tomato-based, sweet sauces and all that stuff. And all that stuff does is overpower what you're eating. There should never be a sauce or a seasoning that even stands shoulder to shoulder with the food, with the meat that you're making. It should only be ancillary. It should only help lift it up and promote it at best. You have to think about it like a vinaigrette. There's a fat and an acid, and those are emulsified together, and when they're together, they bring balance. In the same case, I believe that with pulled pork or even fatty brisket, any of those meats that have a lot of fat content to it needs an acid to offset that fat for your palate. You don't even know why you enjoy it more, but you do. And unfortunately, just it's sometimes now, even especially with folks who are like in their 30s or younger, they just have it programmed in their mind they have to have some sweet tomato-based sauce, and we just are like, you need a vinegar-based sauce. Vinegar? I don't want to eat vinegar. And it's just like, shut up and eat the sauce. You're going to like it more than Trust me, I know more about what you want to eat than you do. Just eat this sandwich. But yeah, it's. I hope that answered your question at least. You know.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Pat. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Food was spectacular.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will be back soon.
Thank you. I want to thank my crew over here. They're the ones who did all this. I really didn't do much. I flipped some chickens, and that was really about it. So they, John and Chase and everybody put this together, Hannah. So thank you very much, and I appreciate y'all coming out.
And if anyone wants to, I won't commit Pat to this, but if anyone wants to ask me questions, I'll be hanging around. I can answer anything about the Post and Courier's food and dining section or Charleston's menu, and as much as I can about barbecue.
I'll answer whatever you need. You just call me back up.